Highly anticipated and full of hype, the Central Authority origin has finally been added to Deepwoken, and with it a few minor issues involving gameplay, but a few major complication issues as far as the lore goes potentially. While the update was good, I wanted to discuss some of the problems I have with it, so hopefully the developers can keep this in mind for future updates and potential fixes, as well as the big picture for the Central Authority and their lore in the future. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe, since only about 20% of the people watching this video right now are actually subscribed. And also, I'm currently live on Twitch as I am Mondays, Wednesdays, and some Fridays at 4 PM Eastern Standard Time. I don't feel like screaming it because my throat's a bit sore, but let's get straight into it. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, let's give you a quick rundown. The new Central Authority origin is unlocked by either reaching hero reputation with the Central Authority or defeating Titus. However, if you've beaten Titus before the update came out, you should still unlock the new origin as soon as you join the game. Upon equipping the origin, whatever slot you use it on is no longer available for guilds, as your guild is overwritten on that specific slot to be the lore guild for the Central Authority. So your guild base is the Fort Merritt military base, and leaving it without being given permission, such as for missions, marks you AWOL or absent without leave, which is a military term. Now you progress by doing jobs which get you EXP and points towards promotion, which will unlock you new weapons and armor, and you'll get better and better stuff as you keep progressing through the ranks as a Central Authority military agent now. Now, as far as the gameplay goes, it's actually really good. It gives you necessary camaraderie since you can't kill other Authority Origin players, meaning you guys kind of dominate servers most of the time, or at least do right now because it's new and everyone's on it, but I think over time this is going to mellow out a lot, kind of like how nobody's really in the Divers Guild because it's a lore guild and nobody's really in it anymore. Along with that, it doesn't just make it a toxic flood guild because of that due to the AWOL restrictions, as well as the fact that you don't get your original guild base back. And while many players have complained about not getting their guild bases, I think this is good because otherwise people would be using this as a way to flood in and farm for PvP stuff while still reaping the benefits of the Central Authority origin. So good that they don't have that. However, as far as gameplay goes, there are a few minor issues that need fixes before I talk about the major ones in relation to lore. Now, as far as gameplay goes, first of all, the way you progress is much slower than usual. This is a cool novelty for now, but in 2 months I don't think people are really going to be playing this origin much, if at all, because right now it is just kind of slow. And part of the reason it's slow is the fact that it's based on specific and new jobs, because they added new jobs specifically for the Central Authority origin. And while the jobs are better, they're not amazing, and when it takes like 5 minutes or more of sailing to get to your job and then it takes longer to complete it and then get back, it's a bit annoying, especially because the EXP isn't substantially increased, and one mission in particular, being the hostage mission, just kind of sucks, because if you get too close to the hostage, or if the NPCs attack while being too close to the hostage, or if the NPCs attack at all in any vicinity of the hostage, they will one-shot kill the hostage, wasting your time and guaranteeing that you get no XP, and it's just annoying. And also, it puts you on a crazy timer, because if you fail the mission like that, you're no longer in the mission parameters, so you are now marked AWOL, and if you don't get back to the base, or the Fort Merritt base, in 5 minutes, you get marked for death. Which, you could just reset, but if you don't have your reset and cooldown, now you gotta go rush your dumb ass to the base, which, I mean, 5 minutes is more than enough, but oh my god, it's so annoying. And for the love of god, this isn't, like, related to the update specifically, but this update really made me hate the NPC mob AI for humanoids, because obviously, right, they're AIs, so they just have infinite ether, infinite stuff like that, which is why they can do stuff like vent stacking. But oh my god, they gave all of the enemies for the authority missions, like the ministry guys that you kill, pressure blast, and it is so infuriatingly annoying. Like, look at the clip I'm playing right now. Why am I getting hit with 4 pressure blasts at a time? And then every time I try and block something, or I have shaky block up, or I even parry something, it just won't work half the time. I'll get hit through my block or my parry by a pressure blast from another NPC. Oh my god, it made me realize how annoying the NPC AI is, especially because when you're fighting NPCs, they all act like a hive mind. It's like they have one brain controlling 4 bodies, so a lot of the time you get stacked with like 4 pressure blasts at once. It is just so obnoxious. And if I'm being completely honest, the progression is kind of a slog, okay? It's too slow. The jobs don't give enough EXP for how long it takes to complete them, because just driving there takes longer than completing a regular job in game if you weren't using the Authority origin. I'm just saying, they gotta majorly buff the EXP on these quests, because it's not enough. It really just isn't, because why is it taking me 3 hours longer to progress doing this? I'd appreciate if we maybe brought that XP level, or the XP that you get per mission, up, and then maybe, just maybe, do some changes to the missions, like, you know, give the hostage more than 1 HP. And also, I know I said that if they hit the hostage, if you're too close, but sometimes I won't even be too close to the hostage. I'll be in the general direction of the hostage, and because I'm anywhere in that direction, I'll get hit with a pressure blast, and the hostage is like 20 feet back, also gets hit with the pressure blast, and I just lose the mission like that, because enemies come from every angle. And now, I have heard someone say that, you know, complaining about the EXP game makes me sound ungrateful for this update, But no, I don't think it does actually at all. When we look at this update, why are people playing it? Because it's new. Nobody cares how long the progression is because the experience itself is different. So people are gonna do it regardless. Over time, this origin, much like the Ignition Union Ceramade Hollow origin, will become nothing more than a novelty if they don't offer something special. Either faster, more streamlined progression, some sort of extrinsic benefit through exclusive but good items or gear, or maybe something else exclusive and some sort of benefit, or some sort of exclusive benefit only available and unique to the new origin. So over time, people will most likely stop playing it due to the fact that it doesn't benefit you very much long term. Think of the only 3 origins that people consistently have always used. Lone Warrior, which increases progression speed and builds stat allocation ability. That is an exclusive benefit for faster, more streamlined progression. Voidwalker has the extrinsic value of both being able to avoid other Voidwalkers and void walking, which gives you potential for fast travel, as well as a way to progress through PvP, and the Void Heart, which is just like a little exclusive base for you. And then Deepbound, which benefits PvE builds and allows you the easiest experience for farming through endgame PvE, with the various benefits of Deepbound, such as the Diluvian mechanism being easily accessible, as well as Castlelate being full-time accessible with no restrictions. Now, I see what they were going for when they decided to do something like this, because the origin itself actually has some very strong exclusive talents, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if these are going to be able to hold up long-term for what it is. Because when it comes down to it, it's like, okay, you get a set of very strong talents, because they are really strong. Like, one of them just gives you 50 extra health upon entering a fight. Temporary HP, but it still means a lot, right? Now, the talents are very good, but some of them come with downsides, which means they might not be suitable for every build. Like, the one that gives you 50% extra HP permanently slows you down, which is a huge downside, because if you're not in battle, you're slower. If you are in battle, you're slower. You're going to be below the base movement speed, so even with stuff like Jet Striker, you're still not really going to be able to catch up to people super easily. It is a major downside. And yes, these are good talents, but the downsides that they come with don't suit every build. And along with that, even if they did suit every build, is it really worth it when you can't use your guild base, you can't be with your guild partners, you don't have free roam access? There's major downsides to taking it that make up for these major upsides, which really make it a sort of a trade-off and still keeps it in the sort of novelty selection of things in this game. Along with that, no offense to whoever designed these talents, but it feels like they didn't really think too hard when making them, because yeah, they're strong talents and they wanted to incentivize people to go to things, but it feels like most of these talents really just incentivize people to make Chime of Conflict only 1v1 suited builds, because none of the talents really synergize well with overworld ganking, which you need a lot more than you would in Chime of Conflict, because in Chime of Conflict, it's a forced 1v1. There's no running, there's no doing all of that stuff, right? So movement speed doesn't matter, stuff like that. You just want health and you want damage. But in an overworld scenario, there's a lot more factors to it, which none of these talents really benefit, which kinda sucks in my opinion. And while I said it could be viable if there weren't 18 talents, there are 18 talents in this tree, and some of them are fucking insane. Oh my god. There's some really good talents here. So yeah, this could be potentially meta-defining with like no investment point builds, because honestly, if you were to take 16 out of the 18, because 2 of them have downsides and 2 of those downsides are pretty big, if you were to take the 16 talents with no downsides, I'm not gonna lie, this could be kind of meta-defining. But who knows? But when you look at it like that, I guess it's kind of like the whole downside for progressing and having to spend an extra 2 to 3 hours is that once you're finished with it, you can actually just get exiled. So you can literally just get a high rank, get all the talents, all the stuff you want, and then just exile, and it's a direct upgrade. It's actually kind of insane. So I'm not gonna lie, maybe tone that down a little bit and then provide it with some other extra benefits that incentivize you to stay in the Central Authority. Because right now you have no reason to stay in the Central Authority, which I think is kind of lame, because there should be downsides and upsides for it. But when the only downsides are temporary in the progression, and then the upsides are permanent because you can just exile and keep all the stuff that you got, and then you get your guild base back, and there's literally no downsides to it. So maybe add some more exclusive benefits for staying in the Authority, and then, I don't know, just balance it around that so people actually have to live with the downsides of being in the Authority, because the only downside to exiling is that you can't progress it anymore, and your rep is dropped, but neither of those really matter. So honestly, I really just hope that they give it some sort of exclusive benefit that it currently doesn't have, because then we'd maybe see the Authority, the Origin, becoming some sort of new meta. Which, yeah, it's totally gonna become meta because the talents and stuff you can get from it are super strong, but I thought it was gonna be cool that people actually stayed in the Central Authority and the guild and stuff, instead of, you know, progressing through it, getting basically a direct upgrade to your progression for little cost, because, what, you become a negative rep with the faction? And then, you know, they just have a way stronger build than you because they progress like this and you didn't. It would have been better if they made it some sort of way that... It would have been better if they just made it so there were more exclusive stuff you could only get by staying in the Central Authority, because by not doing that, it's just a direct upgrade, and it's totally going to become meta. And I wanted it to be kind of meta, but not like meta, not like dominating the meta, which is totally what's going to happen, which would actually be cool. Maybe not like if it were meta, because I think guilds are still an important part of the game, but maybe if it were viable to be used permanently by certain types of individuals. Now about the lore. This authority origin has a big problem. The fact that there isn't much as far as the Central Authority goes in game right now. You guys may feel their influence in the Etrian and Eastern Luminance now more than ever because of the new origin and the work being done for the origin, but that is only a small fraction of what the Central Authority is, and I feel like adding the Central Authority origin before the Central Luminant is honestly a very weird decision, because it doesn't allow a new major point of view to form through the eyes and ideals of the Authority agents, because nothing really changes majorly. I expected this update to add on to the Authority in a meaningful way, which would allow us to see the Central Authority as more than just authoritarian warlords, and the best way of establishing this change of views is through the higher-ups of the Central Authority, something which can't be well provided through the already existing mid-rank Central Authority members that we've seen. So honestly, I see it as kind of a bit of wasted potential, when what they could have done was waited for the next, Luminant to come out, make it the Central Luminant, and then we could have had the Central Authority origin, which would tie in to all of the high-ranking Authority members. And that would have actually been really cool. But they decided not to do that, and it feels kind of like it was just done for hype. Like, I feel like the only reason why this came out in the timing that it did was to build hype for the game, because the Central Authority are important. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows the Central Authority. So when we hear Central Authority origin, it sounds like something super major, but I feel like that was more of a marketing ploy rather than, hey, this is actually going to be a super important update for the future. But who knows? Because something else I found interesting about it was that in part of the patch notes, a bit of text reads, "Tensions in the east mount as the land subsides. The struggle for territory more desperate than ever." Now, of course, this alluded to the fact that some of the map has shifted around and they changed around some of the map in the Luminance, right? But this was very interesting because if you've watched enough of my videos, then you've maybe heard my ideas about the potential for an update involving a war arc between the Central Authority and Etria. Now, this could be alluding to something like that, but that's all theory. And now, while I do believe it is potentially wasted potential that we got the Central Authority origin this early, that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. The devs could have it tie in deeply with the Central Luminant if that ever gets added to the game, but honestly, I personally think they should have probably just waited for the Authority to get their actual Luminant and expansion before making the origin, because if the Authority origin is going to have a big difference in interactions when the Central Luminant comes out, based on what I've already said, it is unlikely that many people will even be using the Central Authority origin by the time the Luminant comes out. So it would have just been a better idea to maybe release the origin with the expansion to the faction it is involved with. It's honestly just a weird design choice, especially considering that, like, if they wanted to do an origin like this, what they actually could have done was the exact same thing but with the Summer Company, and then they could have expanded upon them and basically done the same militaristically designed mission-based system, rather than doing it with the faction who you guys probably should have left on the back end for a while and let them develop because of how major that they are. But yeah, it can still matter with some light changes, so I just really hope this video helps the developers in some way with the future planning, because as it is lore-wise, this is potentially a very messy update to drop when they did. Regardless, I do like the updates. Some people see the titles and thumbnails on these videos, and before they even watch the video or before they even finish it, they'll leave comments about how I'm an idiot or something and I'm just hating to hate, but I'm not really hating at all. I'm just addressing a few concerns I have with the potential implications of certain updates within the greater lore of Deepwoken. But you know how people love to misconstrue things. Regardless, I hope you all enjoyed. Check out my live channel where I posted a new video on there rather recently, and the drip ranking stream will be 2 days from now on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That would be, I believe, October 8th. Yes, that's October 8th. So submit before it's too late. And of course, shoutouts to YouTube members Green, Pickle, Brick, Goobka, Highcard, Philip, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all regardless of membership status, but if you want a shout out, then buy a membership of tier 2 or higher. I'll be posting a new song cover this month for all of my YouTube members to watch and listen to, so hope you guys enjoy that. It'll be coming out soon. Anyway, have an amazing day as usual, and goodbye.